guys are just basically treading water out there. Welcome back to the NutriMedical Report, and we have Harley Schlanger with some major updates. We'll be bringing on Keisha Rogers next week on the first hour of either Monday or Tuesday. We'll have it firmed up here before the end of the show today. Harley, what are the main news items that we need to discuss? Because the first one, of course, is what I call the Obama-nectomy. Second is Glass-Steagall. Third is to deconstruct and stop this Trans-Pacific Partnership, the TPP, which is a corporate takeover of not only America, but every nation to crush them. So many issues, and there's real straightforward solutions that LaRouche Foundation has been touting for years. We're near the point now where it's getting really evident that not only is the Obama administration an imperial administration, but the Republicans are covering for him.
Yeah, let's start with the most important thing, which is that if anybody's serious about defending our nation, they have to join the mobilization to have this president impeached. Barack Obama was selected for his lability, his willingness to say whatever his controllers wanted. He never worked for a thing in his life. Everything was handed to him, including his speeches. And at this point, he's playing with a grave danger. I don't know if your listeners saw this yesterday, but the explosion that took place in Ukraine was orchestrated by John Kerry and NATO officials, including Angela Merkel, who gave the go-ahead to the so-called opposition to launch a final effort to bring down the Yanukovych government in Ukraine. Now, there are 3 points here. One, Yanukovych was democratically elected with over 50% of the vote in an election that the European Union, the United Nations, and even U.S. observers said was fair. Secondly, the opposition includes in leading positions people who openly proclaim themselves to be supporters of Stepan Bandera, who is a Ukrainian who brought Ukrainian troops to serve under the SS and the Nazis. This is the Svoboda Party, which is the largest party, really, of the opposition, or the second largest party of the opposition. These are the ones who have the armed people who have killed at least 9 policemen so far and are throwing Molotov cocktails and generally blowing up the streets of Kiev. Third, President Obama and John Kerry are giving full support to this opposition because they want to put U.S. missiles and NATO troops in Ukraine on the border of Russia. And I might add, fourth, most of the U.S. media is trying to blame Putin, saying he's a dictator, he's responsible for this because he blew it up by doing what? By offering to help Ukraine with a loan when the International Monetary Fund was going to give a loan 1/16 the size of what Putin offered. And in return for that loan, the government of Ukraine had to bring the International Monetary Fund in to restructure their economy, which is basically saying to kill their elderly and their poor.
Right.
So those are the facts. This president, furthermore, and here's something, this should get your listeners' blood going. The United States government has just given $3 million to pay the salaries of the Syrian opposition, which includes al-Qaeda-linked terrorists. So we don't have enough money to extend unemployment benefits. We don't have enough money for Social Security, supposedly. We don't have enough money for veterans affairs, but we can give $3 million in taxpayers' money a month to pay the salary of terrorists who are blowing up the country of Syria. This is impeachable. And what Mr. LaRouche said 2 days ago is that there are many in Congress who now realize that Obama is committing crimes. But we need 10 of them to step forward and file a bill of impeachment. And I don't want to hear...
By the way, this is not a Lewinsky moment. This is not where they use a distraction to deal with a, quote, possible sexual activity in the White House Oval Office, where there are many impeachable actions that should have been taken against Mr. Clinton. In fact, he still should be prosecuted for what he's done during his administration. But Obama's over the top. I mean, he's like a rabid animal going for the throat. Obama is deconstructing America, and he's putting us in grave danger of a world war as well.
Well, and here's the problem. You have Republicans like Darrell Issa, who has put a lid on going after Obama. And the reason the way he's done it, everyone says, well, Issa brought up Fast and Furious, he brought up this and that. He had these long, drawn-out congressional hearings that never had a point to them, never got to the end. He is sitting on evidence of crimes committed by this administration. And he was in New Hampshire yesterday. And your listeners in his district should hear this. In New Hampshire, he gave a speech about Obama and the imperial presidency. So when he finished, one of our organizers said, well, then why don't you issue a bill of impeachment against Obama? And he said, oh, it'll never go anywhere. And we said, well, then why did you vote for Obama's plan to support Nazis in Ukraine and overthrow the government? And he said, oh, no, the problem in Ukraine is Putin. Putin is the dictator of an imperial Russia. So when he was put to the test, he failed. Steve Stockman, a congressman from Texas, who sent out a fundraising letter saying, tell me if you think I should submit bill of impeachment. Overwhelmingly, people said submit a bill of impeachment. He's not going to do it. He just did that to raise money for his Senate campaign. This is naked opportunism of the worst sort. This is how nations are destroyed, when the opposition is just as corrupt as the establishment in power.
Yeah, it's really quite evil. And I see the same thing with the grimacing Boehner. The last speech that was given a month ago at the State of the Union, it was mind-boggling to see the faces that were made by Boehner during that speech. We had the Cheshire Cat on one side of Biden, who looked like he was having a psychotic fugue. And then we had Boehner, who looked like he was going through either a bowel spasm or a heart attack.
I was going to say, it looked like he had bad hemorrhoids.
He probably had what's called political hemorrhoids. How's that?
Well, the reason they get political hemorrhoids is their head is very far up that well-known orifice.
Yeah, I think it's called, and there's a fancy medical term for it. I'll have to think of the exact Latin for it. But one of my professors actually had a Latin name for it. It was called rectocephalic insertion syndrome.
Well, look, the problem is many of the American people have the same thing. And, you know, people say to me all the time, Dr. Deagle, they say, well, we can't get them out. And what I say to them is, no, look, you haven't figured out how to do it yet, but we have to do it. We have to find a way, because our nation will not survive to 2016 with Obama in the White House. Well,
I'll give you an example of 3 or 4 things that he's doing, that Obama's doing. Number one, he's trying desperately to attack Iran, and he's trying to do it through a side door. So he's arming Iran and Saudi Arabia to do it. Number two, he plans on putting Israel and Saudi, he's planning on deploying basically launch phase missiles, which will guarantee that the Russians will target European cities and American military bases in the Middle East and Europe. He is, instead of trying to work out financial deals with Russia and China, he's inflaming the situation, including the Muslim countries, where they can have a wedding party, and he blows everybody up. And then their policy, by the way, and this is, I love to kill people, I'm really good at it, Mr. Man, Mr. Obama-nator, they go back and they do a second strike to kill the EMTs and the ambulance attendants trying to pick up the body parts and the people bleeding to death in the wedding party that was inadvertently hit. And this happens all the time now in Pakistan.
And that's a tactic used, that was a tactic developed by the terrorists.
Right. And what we have, too, is it's plain to everyone around that in the one theater of operation where they're doing regime change, we'll give them money and pay their salaries. Maybe they're going to even get benefits better than the vets. And on the other hand, we're going to say, oh, no, we're going to attack al-Qaeda in Iraq and Afghanistan, where we're doing squat. If we can maintain a state of chaos, America will do it, and then hand over the deals to transnational corporations like the China Oil Company through the Rothschilds, so that they can maintain hegemony over the oil and make sure that nobody ever violates the petrodollar.
And Iraq is more dangerous now than when we went in.
Well, hundreds of people die a week now. This is absolute civil war there now. It's crazy. Back in a moment. It does exist.
There's an argument for prayer in school.
Yeah, exactly. Welcome back, and Harley, let's continue on this dialogue. It's really important what's going on. This year is a fulcrum year. I think it's a turning point year, a year where if the Republicans are so damn corrupt they can't even do their job. And Darrell Issa, I had trouble meeting with him talking about the San Onofre nuclear reactor, was not impressed. He knew that I was a nuclear expert, and we both live within 12 miles, roughly. He lives right here in Vista, California. And I'm not impressed by that, because you're supposed to meet with your constituents, you're supposed to represent them, and you don't go into a faux investigation when you're really just trying to do a delay tactic, and then it looks like you've done something, but you did nothing. It's really bizarre.
Well, you know, I had been talking about this with you, I think, 3 years ago, that there's ample evidence that a crime was committed, for example, with Fast and Furious. Now, that's a minor crime compared to what's been done since. But by drawing it out, by allowing the administration to assert executive privilege where executive privilege was not allowed, by going to court rather than moving for presumptive action in the Congress, what he did is he let this thing drag on and on and on so that the outrage over the death of an American Border Patrol officer was lost. And
right.
So the impetus for a real investigation never got done. Now, here you are 4 years later, and Eric Holder is still the Attorney General. He's still defending the policy of allowing corrupt and immoral bankers to swindle their clients and customers out of trillions of dollars. Obama has committed crimes from Libya to Syria, now to Ukraine. What he's doing is executive action on the health care bill alone is a violation of the Constitution. And yet people like Issa are the loyal opposition. They're not doing anything to stop it. And then you have people like Mike Rogers, a Republican who comes from the FBI, so you know there's something wrong with him, who's refusing to do anything to stop the spying on everyone. Now, look, on the Democratic side, you have a lot of Democrats who privately say they're worried about Obama's attacks on Social Security. They don't support the Affordable Care Act. In fact, the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, is putting millions of dollars into ads of embattled Democrats who are, with the support of the party, coming on and saying we've got to fix the Affordable Care Act. In other words, they admit that it's a disaster. So where's the leadership? We've got gutlessness and immorality in both parties. And one exception to that is Keisha Rogers. And you get these editorial boards in Texas. Keisha's running for the Senate nomination for the Democratic Party in Texas. You remember, she's won primaries twice in Texas. She sits down with editorial boards and they say, where do you stand on this and that? She said, look, here's the important issue. We're facing war, Obama's a criminal, and we have to get Glass-Steagall so he can crush the power of Wall Street. And they say, okay, that's well and good, but where do you stand on abortion? And Keisha said, look, if we have a war, we're going to have tens of millions of lives aborted. Why don't you deal with these more serious issues? And then what do the editors say after they have long discussions with her? They say, don't vote for Keisha because she wants to impeach Obama.
Yeah, you know what they should say? I remember back in 1992, I traveled to Prince Edward Island to do a talk, and they had a really big church in Charlottetown, their capital of the province. And what was really funny, because I was traveling around the eastern United States and eastern Canada talking about pro-life issues, and they had big signs out front. They had a big X over babies being aborted, but then they showed 2002, that was 1992, 2002, they had a big X over two seniors in the rocking chairs. And what they should now is have two seniors and two babies in their cots and the two seniors in their rocking chairs with a nuclear mushroom cloud over them. Because if Obama continues, he's going to blow up the economy and the dollar. He's going to call for a banking holiday. He's going to force the hand so that Saudi Arabia and Israel will do a nuclear attack with bunker buster nukes on Bashar. So we think we have a bad day with Fukushima, which is a Chinese water torture of radiation. What if you hit a live nuclear reactor with bunker buster bombs and completely destroy the containment and blow up all the radioactive fuel rod assemblies into an atomic vapor? This is not
Bill,
good. Plus, the nations involved have nuclear weapons, and they are going to nuke not only Israel, but all these nations that collaborate, including Europeans and us. And
you don't have to realize the people who run Obama already have said they think there are 6 billion too many people on the planet. The Queen of England, George Soros, people like that who are instrumental in the coup that brought Obama to power, have said that the world is overpopulated by 6 billion people. And so for them, the idea of 100,000 killed in Syria, that's not even a down payment. The idea of nuclear attacks hitting the eastern coast of the United States or taking out all of the population of European Russia, just a small down payment on what they'd like. Their policies, if there were not a danger of war, their policies would kill people because there are going to be food shortages. Look at Obama this week. He's talking supposedly about the emergency water situation in California. And what does he do? He said, we need more money for biofuels. We already are now having very good land taken out of production in California because of the loss of water for irrigation. He wants to take what little water there is and have it to produce biofuels, which are inefficient use of land, a terrible use of food, and not a very good energy source.
And they also burn out your engine. They chew it up.
Yeah, that's the whole point. It's a lowering of the energy flux density of the system, which means we'll have less power to be able to sustain life. And that's what the environmentalists are committed to. That's what the whole environmental movement was set up to do, to destroy the idea of optimism and commitment to science and technology. Yeah,
they're not environmentalists, they're environmental maniacs. And you have to understand out there, we're not just dealing with people that want to have all the power and all the money. They don't get their jollies off until they see the shining glory of omnicide, which means the death of everything. And people think that's an exaggeration. No, it's not. People need to grasp it's all the public documents, Agenda 21 and 1994, the 1974 NSM document.
Well, the limits to growth, the Club of Rome.
Look at these ICLEI programs. I mean, it's everywhere, and people still have the nerve to say that they don't want to believe it. Well, tough luck. What you have to realize is you have been malignantly ignorant on purpose because you pretend to feign stupidity or that we don't have the evidence. And the reason is because you're a hollow, gutless jellyfish that has no faith and no love of your fellow man or the future of America or anybody on earth of any skin color. Because right now these maniacs are coming to abort mankind. They're not just coming here to make us have a bad day or take all our money, which they want to bail in. They're here to kill all of us and destroy our genetics, destroy the future of humanity, kill all the crops. That's why they even have seed vaults in Sakhalin Island, Svalbard, Norway. If people don't want to see this, this is so evil. I'll tell you, I can't sleep at night now the last month and a half. It's mind-boggling. I just close my eyes and I see vision after vision of horror coming. Welcome back, and Harley, where are we going next with these topics? What I see happening is a desperate need to get the public moving, and here's the scenario that I see kind of transpiring if it doesn't happen. We have people like Daryl Issa and people like Boehner that are fiddling and diddling and pretending that there's a real problem and they're addressing it when they're not, whether it's Benghazi or the Bankster games and everything else, or the pretending that they're going to follow when they actually don't even consult Congress and they're deciding to prosecute war. Transfer armaments that basically says the insane nation of Israel, go ahead and drop a bunker buster nuke on Iran. By the way, we'll not only loan you the money, you don't have to pay it back to buy the bombs, we'll just give it to you, including the tanker bombers, so you can go and bomb the hell out of infrastructure in Iran. Don't worry about the bioweapons they have or the fact that Russia and even Pakistan, who's a different type of Islam, says that they have committed nuclear weapons to attack Israel and Saudi Arabia if they're attacked Iran. So we have under the situation right now, I'm very concerned that if the courts and the Congress doesn't do an impeachment, that some crazed so-called patriot, which I'm not proposing at all, is going to go postal, and something horrifying is going to happen, just like, to Lincoln. I call it the Lincolnization of our state. And the effect on the body politic and the amount of surveillance and the clamping down on the public and the removal to, quote, civil detention camps of the red list is an inevitability that I see coming. Because I think if they don't do their job, Obama's going to do more and more obscene things until finally people are going to just go nuts. They're going to lose it. And I don't want to see that day happen. I do not want to see that happen because these damned politicians won't do their job.
Well, as we were saying on the break, there are any number of scenarios you can come up with, including a population extinction based on thermonuclear war. But the best scenario from the standpoint of what would be best for the country and for the people would be for the American people to wake up and demand the impeachment of this guy and do it immediately. Now, were that to happen... It's got
to go from the bottom up to the top because the top is so corrupt. Even when we scream at these politicians and even have public displays like the public display supporting Keisha Rogers, who'll be on next Tuesday. She's on Tuesday, I think, isn't it? Yes. Yeah, next Monday, in the first hour. What we have is a situation where even when that happens, the leadership in both the Democrat and Republican parties just cover each other. It's just disgusting. And I can't believe it when they know that Keisha's the best candidate for senator from Texas. And they agree with all our policies, but then say, well, you can't move for the impeachment of our leader. Obama's no more, he couldn't lead a cat, from their own fecal matter. I mean, Obama would fail at running an ice cream stand on the beach in the middle of the summer because he said the Republicans kicked the power cord. It's just...
Here's the thing. Yeah. Here's the thing. This is what LaRouche said on his webcast last Friday night. And by the way, those people are interested. You can catch him again on this Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on LaRouchePack.com. But here's the thing. Obama, as you know, has a psychopathology called narcissism. And the narcissist is someone who has no empathy for anyone else, only thinks of themselves. And they do that because they're ultimately underneath very insecure. They seem cool, they seem above it all, but they're insecure. Now, what happens to someone like Obama if there's a bill of impeachment introduced in the House of Representatives? There are some people who are saying, well, it'll never get through the Senate because the Senate's controlled by Democrats, so it would be a waste of time to put a bill of impeachment in the House. Well, that's completely ridiculous. If you put a bill of impeachment in, even if it would not have the votes in the Senate, Obama would go like Rumpelstiltskin and start stamping his feet until he disappeared because he can't handle it. Minimally, it would stop him from going aggressively toward nuclear war because some of the Democrats would say to him, Mr. President, you'd better back off and seem rational, or some of us will join the Republicans. So all we need is a couple of congressmen.
I find it amazing, though. To me, it's a form of mass lemming-like political suicide of the Democratic Party, that they don't decide to use America and people first and humanity first and the world first instead of walking lockstep behind this self-proclaimed messianic narcissist who's going to blow us all up and destroy the economy and provoke world war. And Obama is so incompetent. He has literally, I really realize there is not only positive intelligence like Goethe and Einstein and all these wonderful people, like Leonardo da Vinci, IQs of 180 to 200 plus. But there's actually there actually is a case now, I think, a case in public life for what I call negative intelligence, almost like antimatter. And I think that Obama is a genius level antimatter intelligence. He literally has less intelligence than inert matter, and it's because he is malignantly, right down to his subatomic molecular particles, evil. He's not just a puppet This is a wheeling puppet that loves to literally grin, smile, cackle, whatever, when evil is being done. When he makes a statement of, I'm really good at killing people on Tuesday mornings, I'm thinking, oh my gosh. This is someone who, if I heard this on the street and I was a doctor, I'd have to report by public policy, and they have to pick him up and put him in a posy jacket and haul him away with his arms pinned behind his back so he can't bite himself or hurt anybody else. That's how crazy he is. So when somebody gets off on the idea that they're making drone killings indiscriminately and doing a regime change, we're really in trouble now. And we have basically anybody with decency anywhere in the world has zero regard for America. It is disgusting the way that we have now completely blown any kind of reputation America had for being a nation of peace or coming when there's a disaster. If America's coming, run, hide. If we're coming to your country, it's not going to be good. It'll be a bad day for you. And I worry, what are they going to do next? They're going to blow the economy up. They're going to start biometric currency. Pretty soon, Obama will be presiding over not only a ceremony where he starts the peace treaty in the Middle East, he'll be presiding over a bank holiday where they bail in all our money. And then he'll say, well, now we're going to give you biometric money. As the Bible says, he'll be presiding over the entrance of the mark of the beast. This is how crazy the situation is.
You see, we have to get him out. And, rather than, we're going to have on our website later today a new list of impeachable acts by Obama. So people can go to LaRouchePAC.com, LaRouchePAC.com. You can also call my office, and I'll make sure you get the material you need. And you can call me at 800-922-2907. And by the way, last week we got a lot of phone calls after the program. So 800-922-2907. We've got to have a targeting of every Republican who said something about impeaching the president. There are 11 Republicans so far on record saying that Obama has done things that are impeachable. So the question is, why not go ahead and impeach him then?
Yeah, why is that? Do they have something on them, like political espionage and blackmail? What's going on? Why are they not stepping forward?
That is a big part of it. You never know exactly who is terrified by this. But the point is that we've got to get someone to put a bill of impeachment into the Congress. Now, here's a list of the Republicans who have said at one point or another Obama is doing impeachable acts. From Texas, Steve Stockman, Blake Farenthold, Bill Flores, and Louis Gohmert. After the commercial, let's take this up, because I'll go through the list and people have to get these guys to do something.
Exactly, and then they can call them or contact them. Fantastic. Yeah. Back in a moment. Disappeared in an atomic vapor. Welcome back. And again, the number to call is 800-922-2907. 800-922-2907. This is really critical.
Let me go through the list of these Republicans, because they're from all over the country.
Yeah. And take your pen down, because you want to contact them and push real hard now.
And I would encourage people to call these congressmen, even if they're not your congressmen, because every one of them has said they think Obama has committed impeachable acts. So the question is, if you think that, why are you not calling for his impeachment? So from Texas, it's Steve Stockman, Blake Farenthold, Bill Flores, and Louis Gohmert. Then you have Jason Chaffetz from Utah, who's a big opponent of Obama, but so far, big mouth, no action. Kerry Bentivolio from Michigan, who is someone, in fact, Bill Roberts ran against him, my associate Bill Roberts. Bentivolio initially decided to go along with the Republican Party, play games with Boehner and others, and now he said, the hell with it, I'm going off on my own. And so he's someone who might do it. Paul Brown in Georgia, who's running for Senate now, but he's a House member. He's someone who should do it. Duncan Hunter, just down the street from you in California. Steve King, an Iowa Republican, is also running for senator, and Ted Yoho from Florida. And then Michelle Bachmann's on the list. I don't think she's going to do anything. But, the point is, every one of those congressmen has said they think Obama should be impeached. So who do they think should do it? What are they waiting for? And
yeah, exactly.
I think we've got to put some pressure on them. Now, the other thing is, besides impeaching Obama, we have to break the power of Wall Street. And the best way to do that is Glass-Steagall.
Exactly, yeah. Now, and in fact, I think when it happens, it'll be like one of those kids' games where Obama's head pops off. Because really, he will completely lose it, and his banks are maniacs. People like George Soros, he's actually considered an enemy of the state in Britain. If he flies in there, he's going to be arrested the same way as Switzerland. There's a number of states where bankster manipulators like Soros are actually, there's international warrants for their arrest.
Well, Soros right now is betting that the dollar is going to collapse.
Well, they're pushing on it. It's almost like saying, it's like betting on it while they're taking a reciprocal saw and sawing out the joist for your roof.
Well,
and wondering why it collapsed.
That's the point I was going to make. He's got enough money that he can put into this that he can collapse the dollar the same way he collapsed the Asian currencies.
Well, he did that in Britain, and he got $1 billion. I think he got the largest take in one day in the billions from collapsing the British pound sterling. I think it's back about 20 years ago. And he's still considered an enemy of the state there from doing this kind of crap.
Yeah, 1991 he did that.
Yeah. Amazing, isn't it?
So, really the question that comes up that really has to be taken seriously by people is, what do you do when government has gone completely bad because it's been taken over by the bad corporate interests? What do you do? Now, the answer to that is you reassert the authority of the people through institutions of self-government. That's the only thing that works. Now, why don't we do that? Well, people have this pessimism. What if we actually got a couple congressmen to introduce a bill of impeachment? It could actually work. Democrats may finally say, look, if we're going to win the election in 2014, maybe we should get rid of Obama. So I think that we've got to take this seriously now and do it now.
Well, what we have is Obama that's literally drawing so much blood out of the nation that we're getting hypovolemic economic shock. And then we have the Republicans say you have a rash on your right big toe, so we're going to saw the leg off below the knee. I mean, that's austerity fascism. Neither party has a policy to deal with the real realities, whether it's Fukushima, the economy, or danger of provoking a war in the Middle East. Both parties are out of their minds. Both. Except for bright lights like Keisha Rogers, most of them are either playing the game to try to pretend that they're doing something, like Isa, or others. We want to see if Ted Cruz is going to do something. I'd like to see an actual political action. If it doesn't happen, some wacky is going to go crazy, and Mr. Obama is going to meet he's going to have an appointment arranged to see Jesus. And I don't want to see that happen because our nation will deteriorate to a real, we call lockdown police state that'll make the Russian lockdown of the darkest days of the Soviet Union and China look like a party because of all the advanced tracking and authentication technology. And America has level 1 technology weapons that are very scary. If they decide to go completely crazy, and I'll give you just one example. If you ever heard of a thing called SWORDs, or Operational Ground-Based Robots, at the beginning of Gulf War II, they had 6. At the end of Gulf War II, they had 26,000. They now have sitting in warehouses ready to deploy on American soil. These are not drones that fly up to your window. These are ground-based Terminator robots.
Well, look,
and they can ping you at 2 miles and give you a headshot at 2.5 miles and hit you with a befriend or foe ping. And if you don't have a dog tag with a chip in it that says that you're a friend, you're not going to be living much longer.
Well, let me just, in the few minutes we have left, go back to what I think is the essential point. That what we're seeing in Ukraine, with which you can see the city of Kiev is burning, what we're seeing is an escalation toward potential nuclear war. And this is what Obama's controllers want. And there's only one way to change it, and that's get Obama out. And we do need to have a mobilization of the American people to do it. There are probably 20 to 30 congressmen who are already taking polls among their constituents to find out if they would support the impeachment of Obama. We need to get them to actually do it. And at this point, it really is going to require the population, the people, doing it. So call your congressman. If you want more background, you can go to get the Ukraine fact sheet from LaRouchePub.com, LaRouchePack.com, or you can call me at 800-922-2907, and I'll tell you what has to be done to mobilize. So here's an opportunity that if we don't take, we may lose a chance permanently to do anything to get rid of this guy. And I really think that if we can get a bill of impeachment into the Congress, Obama is going to self-destruct, and we can get him out.
Yeah, it's not just Obama. We need to clear out the rat's nest of all the maniacs in both parties. We need to neuter the people that are just drooling for power and the neocons that basically, since George Bush Jr. is out, they couldn't put their neo-Nazi policies in, or their austerity fascism policy, or their Austrian economic policies. All of them are very noxious, and they try to tell us, oh, yeah, this is what we need to do. We got our bone saw out. Yes, there's a rash on the big toe, so we're going to take the leg off below the knee. That's the kind of foolishness that we hear from these maniacs. On the one hand, we have Obama spending money like $3 million to pay for Al-Qaeda. On the other, they're going to cut pensions for vets. This is craziness. And also, by the way, the Federal Reserve isn't just loaning money to us. It's to countries all over the world, Middle Eastern countries, European countries. What is our supposed Federal Reserve doing, loaning money all over the world when that basically dilutes the currency?
Or why are we paying the salaries of Syrian terrorists? That's something that I really want people to think about.
That's so twisted. It's so twisted. It's hard to. Yeah, you can't even get your mind around it. It's like, no. And each day, you think that you can't be kind of shocked by something worse. So since the holidays, I close my eyes and I just see flashes of visions of what's coming, and it's based on logic. I think it's prophetic. We don't have to go down that track.
Let's make sure it doesn't happen. Let's get Obama out.
We have our railway hats on. We have our overalls. We are switchmen on the line saying, that timeline, people of America and the world, you don't need to go down it. Please pray with us to pull on that switch so we can change that timeline so you don't go there. You don't go the timeline of banker holidays and bail-ins and a nuclear war in the Middle East and economic and ecological collapse and no action on Fukushima. We don't need to go down that. We can pull that switch. So call 800-922-2907. Any closing comments?
Yeah, the time is late, but there's always an opportunity to have a change. Most people would like to see Obama out. They just don't believe it'll happen.
Well, I think that if the military and the government doesn't do their job, there's always some extreme elements that I don't want to see happen that will do it. And then the prophetic dress worn by Michelle Obama on the inauguration in the first term of Obama, the red black widow dress prophecy will be fulfilled. And I don't want to see that. This will be very, very ugly what'll happen.
No, and it's up to the American people to do something.
Yeah, we American people, we need to make sure that we rattle the cage of our senators and congressmen to start impeachment now before things get way out of control. They're real close. We don't know how far away, but right now. Thank you around the world, everybody listening. Take action with every other country to maintain what's going on and get the truth.